Okay, so Tony, could you let me know what your understanding of metabolic damage is, the word metabolic damage, and the best ways to avoid that?
Well, this is a really hot topic right now in our industry as personal trainers. The phenomena has been identified for well over a decade by scientists in other populations, particular female marathon runners, gymnasts, and then more recently a lot of male road cyclists. We see it, of course, in particular with fat loss clients, and in particular people preparing for figure competitions. And what it really means is that the energy that is available to the body to sustain metabolic process and health is reduced because of large amounts of energy expenditure and low amounts of food entering the body. And scientists have called this low energy availability. And it simply refers to when clients eat too little food based on the amount of expenditure that their sport requires from them. And that's why we see it with female marathon runners initially, but that's also why we're seeing it with fat loss clients and figure competitors who, getting ready for a show or getting ready for a race, will limit their calorie intake to well under 1,000 calories. Their metabolic rates might demand 1,600 or thereabouts, and their energy expenditure from exercise might be well over 1,000 per day and up to several thousand in the case of athletes. And there is a minimum amount of energy that an athlete or a figure competitor needs to maintain health and function. And Anne Laux, Professor Laux, has done a considerable amount of research in this area when she has given a standard amount of exercise but have reduced the energy coming in and measured a whole host of hormones and other parameters. And within 5 days of low energy availability, that is large amounts of energy expenditure but poor amounts of food coming in, there's been reductions in hormones. There's been reductions in particular of the thyroid hormone, which regulates metabolic rate, but in particular a reduction in resting metabolic rate. And that's why we see ordinarily, as one loses mass, whether it's fat mass or muscle mass, there's a reduction in their resting metabolic rate anyway. But we're seeing further reductions that you would expect to see anyway. And this is an enormous concern, because when one returns to a normal varied diet of normal energy intake, they have a reduced resting metabolic rate, and they find that gaining fat tissue is very, very easy. So in modern terms, this is called metabolic damage, and it just simply means that the resting metabolic rate and numerous hormone pathways have been impaired and damaged due to low energy availability. So the best way to do this is to understand how much the body actually really needs. One can determine this very easily from a DEXA scan. If not, you can estimate percentage body fat and then estimate lean muscle mass from that. But the rule of thumb, if energy availability, that is the energy that is left over after you account for exercise from what you're eating, falls below 30 calories per kilo of fat-free mass, then problems will start to occur within 5 days in terms of the hormones and the resting metabolic rate. So if one needs to lose weight, clearly they need to be in deficit. So perhaps one should eat around that 30 calories per kilo of kilo of fat-free mass, and then 2 days of the week eat more towards balance or even surplus at around 45 calories. And this has been shown to stop and halt that loss of resting metabolic rate and the damage that occurs to the hormones. It's a very important topic, and we see it a lot in our industry with girls who are eating far too little based on their energy expenditure. Just recently, we tracked a girl's calories who was eating about 800 a day, but her resting metabolic rate was 1600 based on DEXA scan. And we knew based on her caloric expenditure she was doing about 1,000 calories a day, which means that she had zero energy for this young girl's metabolic processes. That's a candidate for metabolic damage. That's a candidate for somebody to yo-yo their body weight. And that's the role of the personal trainer, to counsel that young girl to eat more so that her body has energy left for her processes. And that person won't see the reduction in metabolic rate, and they won't see the detriment to their hormones. But it's a very timely topic, and it's a topic that I think personal trainers should be far more aware of.